Planet Reddit. Today's story is...
My wife confessed her infidelity when I tried to tell her I have terminal cancer. Her pregnancy and my heartbreaking diagnosis collided in 5 minutes that destroyed everything. Last week I received news that completely changed my life. The results of my medical tests confirmed the worst. I have stage 4 lung cancer. Hearing that diagnosis completely destroyed me. Since then, I haven't been able to hold back the tears and I'm overcome by a feeling of complete helplessness. I don't want to die. I'm just not ready. There are so many things I still want to do, so many words I want to express, but it seems that fate has already mapped out my path and I feel dragged along without being able to do anything about it. The doctors informed me that I only had a few months left to live. Those words keep echoing in my mind over and over again, like a cruel sentence from which I cannot escape. Until now I had kept this diagnosis to myself. Despite drowning in fear and sadness, I had not said anything to my wife. I didn't want to worry her unnecessarily until I had definitive answers, but when the conclusive results finally arrived, there was no way to avoid it. I sought second medical opinions, but all the specialists agreed on the diagnosis. Finally, I knew I had to talk to my wife and prepare her for the inevitable. How do you tell your life partner, the person you love most, that you will soon be gone? How do you prepare for such a conversation? This week, after days of battling with my nerves, I finally found the courage to have that difficult conversation that I feared so much. I went over in my mind what I would say countless times, trying to find the right words, but no matter how I phrased it, it always felt wrong. When the moment arrived, I invited her to sit down and told her that we needed to talk about something important. As soon as our eyes met, I could see the concern in her eyes. My face must have shown obvious signs of my condition because she immediately asked me if something was wrong. I didn't know how to broach the subject delicately, so I simply got straight to the point. Yes, I had discovered something and now everything was wrong. As I gathered all my strength to tell my wife my diagnosis, something completely unexpected happened. Suddenly, she began to cry. Her tears completely baffled me. I hadn't even started to give her the news yet. I couldn't understand why she was so upset, and I looked at her in confusion, waiting for some explanation. It was then that she said something that left me completely stunned. Between sobs, she stammered that she knew exactly what she was about to tell me. I was paralyzed, trying to understand her words. How could she know? She hadn't shared any information about my exams, the results or my situation with anyone. Confused, I asked her, "What are you talking about?" He took a shaky breath and then blurted out a revelation I could never have imagined. "You found out about my infidelity, didn't you? That's what you want to talk about, isn't it?" His words hit me like a devastating blow. An infidelity. My wife had been unfaithful to me. For a moment I couldn't process it. I sat there in absolute silence, my mind struggling to assimilate what I had just heard. My heart, already fragile due to the weight of my diagnosis, seemed to break into 1,000 pieces. My wife, still crying, began to explain herself. She admitted that for weeks she had been trying to work up the courage to confess the truth to me. After her confession, I finally managed to ask her, "Who is he?" "Who is it?" In tears, she confessed that it was her new work colleague, who had joined her office just a few months ago. She explained that from the first moment they met, there was an undeniable attraction between them. At first, they both tried to ignore it, aware that they were married. But 3 months ago, during a business trip, everything changed. They drank too much one night and ended up together. Although they both felt guilty afterwards, that night marked the beginning of a relationship that has continued ever since. My wife told me she felt terrible about what she had done, about betraying me, but she insisted that this was not just an unimportant affair. She said that she and her coworker were in love. Love. Hearing that word was like a dagger twisting in my chest. How could she be in love with this man? All this time, I believed that she and I were meant to be together. I thought she was my soulmate. Now I discovered that she was nothing more than a person who had betrayed me. My whole world, which was already crumbling, now seemed to have been completely destroyed. I had started this conversation prepared to tell my wife about my terminal cancer, the disease that is slowly consuming me. Instead, she now casually revealed to me that she had been having an affair and that she was in love with another man. How could this be real? How could the universe be so cruel? Before I could assimilate this betrayal, my wife went on to say that last week she had noticed a delay in her period and decided to take a pregnancy test. The result was positive, she was pregnant. My stomach churned as I understood the implications of her words. As she and I hadn't been intimate in months, it was painfully evident that the baby she was expecting was her lover's. I felt suffocated, unable to breathe. I asked her to confirm, and she nodded. She began to repeat to me how sorry she was for what she had done, how she wished she had gotten pregnant with me instead of him, But now that she was pregnant anyway, she had come to accept the situation. She didn't stop there. In fact, she began to get emotional about how this pregnancy was like a miracle for her. How it had happened unexpectedly and felt like it was part of God's plan. I could feel my heart breaking even more as she said those words. A miracle for her. Last year, she and I had tried so hard to conceive a child. We had been through so much. Only to finally give up and decide to leave it to chance, as it was affecting our mental health. After that, my wife, instead of sharing intimacy with me, had been with someone else. I had been completely blind to this. All this time I thought we were both fine. When in reality, she just wanted to replace me and get pregnant by someone else. And now she was expecting a child, not mine, but the child of the man she had been betraying me with. I felt nauseous. Every word she said intensified the pain and deepened the betrayal. My wife kept repeating how sorry she was that I had to find out this way. She went on to say that she had wanted to confess for a long time but hadn't found the courage to do so. At the same time, she also made it clear that she regretted nothing because she had finally found her soulmate in this man. She assured me that she did not feel she had done anything wrong and that perhaps this was the plan of the universe all along. She guaranteed that in time I would overcome this anguish and maybe even find my own soulmate one day. I couldn't help but burst out laughing at that moment. Finding my own soulmate. How absurd. I wish I could. However, I didn't even have the luxury of time to consider such a possibility. My days were numbered. My life was slipping away faster than I could process this nightmare. My wife, the one person I thought I could always trust, had cheated on me and now she was leaving me alone. That's why I decided at that moment that my wife didn't deserve to know about my diagnosis. What was the point anyway? She was already thinking about building a new life with someone else, expecting her child, dreaming of a future with her supposed soulmate. I didn't want her pity. I didn't want to make her feel guilty so that she would stay by my side while I was dying. I still want to die with dignity, so I simply told her that since she was clear about her feelings for her lover and the direction her life was taking, there was no point in us staying married. She nodded in agreement and almost casually offered to move out, since the house was mine. Since that conversation, my wife has been sleeping in the guest room and gradually packing her belongings to leave. She still has no idea about my cancer or how quickly my health is deteriorating. She has not noticed how I have lost weight, how my body is weakening, or the dark circles under my eyes from the nights I spend crying alone in the bed we used to share. At night, I lie awake, my mind racing with thoughts of her and the man she left me for. I became obsessed with researching him on social media, trying to understand who he is and why she threw away 8 years of our marriage for him. I discovered that he is married to a lovely woman. I found his wife on the internet and she is 5 months pregnant. The irony is not lost on me. His wife is also expecting his child, probably with no idea that her husband is about to destroy her life just as my wife did to mine. My heart goes out to his wife even though I don't know her. She probably has no idea what's coming. I know all too well what it feels like to be taken by surprise, to have your world collapse without warning. My wife only confessed her infidelity to me because she mistakenly thought that I already knew. What if his wife never receives that confession? What if she never discovers the truth about the man with whom she is starting a family? What if he abandons her without explanation? I can't decide what to do. Part of me wants to tell his wife everything I know to spare her the pain of finding out too late like I did. But another part wonders if it's really my place to intervene. Maybe I'm too emotionally affected by this, so I can't make up my mind. So, would it be wrong if I contacted his wife and told her everything I know? Should I at least warn her, or would that be cruel? Update. Thank you all for your kind words, support and advice. I never imagined that a group of strangers on the internet could offer me more compassion and understanding than my own wife. Your messages have meant the world to me during this unbearable period. I still have a long way to go. I need to gather my strength and share this devastating news with my parents and other relatives. But before even thinking about that, my priority is to first end my marriage. I need to divorce my wife and break up with her for good. At first, when it all fell apart, I felt nothing but self-pity. I thought about how cruel and unfair life had been and how everything I believed I could trust was disintegrating. But now that pity has turned to anger. I am angry at what my wife has done, at her betrayal, and how she carelessly destroyed everything we built together. I gave her everything, my time, my energy, my love, and she gave it back to me in the worst possible way. It feels like she trampled on my heart without a second thought. Yes, I wish things were different. I wish she wasn't the kind of person capable of hurting me like this. I wish she wasn't an unfaithful person who prioritized her own selfish desires over our marriage, over me. But the harsh reality is that he is. I have no desire to hold on to her. I don't want her in my life, not as my wife or as someone I trust. She is better off with that other man she claims to love so much. Let them be together if that's what she wants. As much as it hurts, I know I deserve better than someone who would betray me so cruelly. There is a bitter comfort in all this. If she had not confessed her infidelity, I would have gone to my grave thinking that she was someone I could trust. Someone who deserved my love and everything I had worked for. I would have left her all my possessions, believing that I was looking after her even after I had left. But now I know the truth, and thanks to that, I can make sure that she doesn't benefit from my hard work while she shares it with her lover. I will divorce her and make sure that she gets nothing from me. It's the least I owe myself after everything she has done. Fortunately, the divorce process should be straightforward. We have a clear prenuptial agreement and there are no children between us. The mediator should be able to resolve it quickly, considering that she is pregnant with another man's child and has already expressed to me that she does not wish to continue in this marriage. I doubt she will try to prolong the process. And that's fine with me. I want this chapter of my life to be closed as soon as possible. As for his mistress, I have decided that the man's wife deserves to know the truth about what her husband has been doing behind her back. She is about to become a single mother, and I can only imagine how devastating this news will be for her. I feel terrible for her because she didn't ask for this, just as I didn't ask for it either. But she deserves honesty, even if it is painful. I will tell her everything so she can decide what to do with her life, just as I am deciding what to do with mine. Update 2. Thank you to everyone who continues to communicate with me daily through private messages. I am truly grateful. I feel much better now after reading all your comments and messages. I decided to contact the man's wife via Facebook. I felt it was the right thing to do. So I sent her a direct message explaining everything about the affair, the pregnancy, and how long this betrayal had been going on behind our backs. I wasn't sure what kind of reaction to expect. I knew it was incredibly sensitive and shocking to communicate to someone, especially a stranger. And I wasn't prepared for her response. She ended up leaving my message unread, which honestly makes sense. I can only imagine how surprised and overwhelmed she must have felt by everything I had shared. It's a lot to take in, especially when you're suddenly faced with the painful truth about something so personal and hurtful about your own partner. A few hours later, my phone rang and it was my ex-wife. As soon as I answered, she started shouting at me. She was furious, accusing me of interfering in her lover's marriage. According to her, I had no right to contact his wife. She went on to say that he had supposedly planned to leave his wife, but only after the baby was born. Now, because I had exposed their affair, his wife had kicked him out of the house and his plans had been ruined. His tone was full of arrogance, as if I had made a mistake by revealing the truth. He kept protesting about how I should have kept quiet and let them handle things their way. He told me it was not my place to say anything to that woman, but honestly, I was glad I had exposed them like this. My wife and that man had deceived us. They broke our trust and they acted behind our backs. And now she and he thought that I shouldn't have warned his wife? I don't regret exposing them. If anything, they deserve it. Later that night, the man's wife finally replied to my message. She thanked me for revealing the truth to her, and I could tell she was deeply hurt, but also grateful that I had contacted her. She told me how she regretted being pregnant with his baby and how she had never wanted to be a mother in the first place, but that he had basically pressured her to continue with the pregnancy. She wrote how after she became pregnant, she started to gain weight, and that was when her husband constantly told her that he always felt rejected by her. I guess that must have been when he met my wife and started his relationship with her. She also wrote how she wished she had known about this infidelity earlier so that she could have been better prepared, but she was still grateful that she had told him everything. I felt very bad for her and wished her well. I can only hope that in their divorce she gets what she deserves. He deserves to lose everything for what he has done to her, just as my ex-wife deserves to face the consequences of her actions. I hope that woman receives a good financial settlement and uses it to rebuild her life without that unfaithful man who limited her. It feels good to know that I did the right thing, even if my ex-wife thinks otherwise. They made their choices and now they must face the consequences. Update 3. 2 months have passed since my last update and a lot has happened since then. My ex-wife and I are now officially divorced. As I had anticipated, she pressed for the process to be as quick and simple as possible. It was painfully obvious that her only concern was to end our marriage so that she could immediately start her new life with the man for whom she had betrayed me. She barely looked at me during the process and never asked me for any money. Now that the divorce is final, I have already spoken to a lawyer and started to prepare my will. My parents and my sister will inherit everything I own. They have always been by my side, and this is the least I can do to thank them for their love and unconditional support. I also want to thank all of you kind strangers who have been reaching out to me with private messages and offers of support. While I can't respond to each of you individually, I want you to know that I read all of your messages and your words truly warm my heart. You have all shown me more kindness than I received from my own wife, and for that I'm deeply grateful. It's amazing how the kindness of strangers can make such a difference in difficult times. Right now I am preparing for even more difficult conversations to come. I still need to break the news of my illness to my parents and other relatives. Although I am still saddened by everything I'm going through, I have begun to accept that this is the reality of my life. I'm going to accept that this is something I must face. I wish I had more time to fix things and experience more of life, but I cannot change what is happening. It is what it is and I am trying to accept it. If there is one thing I hope people can learn from my experience, it is this. Please don't take your health for granted. Go for regular checkups no matter how busy or healthy you feel. Catching diseases early can make all the difference and I hope none of you ever have to face what I am going through. Update 4. This week I finally gathered the courage to sit down with my family and share the news about my diagnosis. As I mentioned before, I was putting it off until my divorce was finalized because I didn't want to add any more stress or confusion to an already difficult situation. Now that everything related to the divorce is settled, I felt the time was right to be honest with everyone about my cancer. To put it simply, my parents, other relatives and close friends are devastated after finding out. They are shocked and deeply saddened because they know that I am still dealing with the pain of my ex, the fear and the divorce. Hearing about my cancer is like another devastating blow that they did not anticipate. Since then, my relatives have been visiting me frequently, whenever they can, so that they can spend more time with me. They are all doing their best to support me during this incredibly difficult period. My ex-wife's family have been in touch with me, which I did not expect. They hadn't really been in touch during the divorce, but once they found out about my cancer, I guess through other people, things changed. My ex-mother-in-law was visibly emotional when she called me. She informed me that her daughter had now moved in with her lover barely a month after our divorce. Apparently, her wife also threw him out of the house. Anyway, my ex-mother-in-law cried and apologized for her daughter's bad behavior towards me, expressing how disappointed she and her husband were at the way my ex abandoned me. She told me how guilty she and her husband felt for what my ex-wife had done to me, but at the time they didn't have the courage to apologize to me. It was a bittersweet moment because, on the one hand, I felt supported, but on the other, it's hard to hear that kind of apology after everything that's happened. I wish they had reached out and told me all this during our divorce instead of now, when they found out I'm dying. My in-laws have started sending me a care package every couple of days, which I suppose is a nice gesture, although it doesn't rectify the past. Of course, after my in-laws found out, it wasn't long before my ex-wife found out too. She tried to call me, but I didn't answer. Honestly, I no longer wish to speak to her. There is nothing more to say. I'm sure she feels guilty and I know she will try to transfer that guilt onto me, but I just don't want to be part of that. She finally left me a voicemail expressing that she was sorry for what I'm going through and that she feels bad for leaving me alone while I'm dying. Then he went on to say that if he had known my diagnosis, he would never have left our marriage. It almost seemed like he was blaming me for not informing him about my cancer earlier. He mentioned how he has been receiving more and more criticism from everyone for abandoning me as a dying man and insinuated that it was somehow my responsibility for not sharing that information with her before and how I shouldn't have left her in a difficult situation without at least warning her. Throughout her message, she didn't even apologize once or ask how I was doing. That woman is completely self-centered. I didn't even bother to reply and just blocked her after that. At this point, my ex can think whatever she wants. I don't owe her any explanation or anything else. This whole situation has been exhausting. I have decided that I need to concentrate on myself now. This could be my last update. I hope you all have an excellent rest of the year and that things improve for everyone. Thank you for being here and for your support. Update 5. I really thought I wouldn't have anything more to update, but it turns out that my ex-wife just can't leave me alone, even though I am literally dying. After blocking her yesterday, I really enjoyed a moment of peace. But that brief calm didn't last long. Today she turned up at my house out of the blue, completely uninvited. She didn't just arrive quietly. No, she was ringing my doorbell repeatedly as if she were trying to wear it out. I was so exhausted that I could barely lift my head off the pillow, but her insistent ringing made it impossible to stay in bed and ignore her. So I dragged myself to the door. My patience was hanging by a thread and I opened it just to ask her to leave. I shouted at her to leave me alone, but instead of backing down, she shouted back. She said she had come because she was worried something had happened to me. According to her, she was there to verify that I was still alive since I hadn't responded to her messages. I couldn't help but laugh. Really? I told her directly that whether or not I was alive was no longer any of her business. I even explained to her why I hadn't heard from me. I had blocked her. She seemed genuinely surprised, as if the idea of me blocking her was the most outrageous thing she had ever heard. Then she started demanding to know how I could do that to her, as if I owed her some kind of explanation for protecting my own peace of mind. Then she launched into a complete monologue about how she has been struggling mentally since she found out about my diagnosis. She said she hasn't been able to sleep peacefully because she has been filled with guilt for leaving me alone. Then, of course, she turned it all into something about her, explaining how her friends and family are blaming her for the situation. Apparently they have been pointing at her, saying that as well as being unfaithful, she is now the woman who abandoned a dying man. And somehow, in her mind, all of this was my fault.